Me, his parents, his therapist, the rehab, everybody was telling him what he needed to do to fix himself. It's pretty hard to use these skills and see it working with someone who's not totally at their full functioning capacity. I spent the past 7 years of our marriage doing drop off by myself completely, newborn, pregnancy, whatever it was.
I'm Laura Doyle, and more than 500,000 women have read my books to feel more adored and stop carrying everything all alone. Now, one of them is here to share her marriage story and exactly what she did that made her husband step up so you can do it too. Stay to the end for your Try It Tonight takeaway. This is the Empowered Wife Podcast. Rachel, welcome to the Empowered Wife Podcast. I'm very excited that you're here.
Thank you so much. It is such an honor to be here. Thank you so much.
Great. Well, let's start at the beginning. How did you know your husband was going to be your husband? How did you know he was the one?
Okay, so I come from a religious background. So there was, we dated for marriage. So when I was set up with him, he was really one of the last guys I was really finished dating. I didn't want to date anymore. I said, after this guy, I'm taking a big break. Um, and I walked into the room and I just remember his eyes and his smile were like magnetic. He had these deep, warm eyes. He was super handsome. And on our date, he was so curious about my life. And I also just remember, um, I was a little bit extreme. Religiously, I was, back and forth where I was faith-wise. And, at the time, I was very, very extreme. And when I was speaking to him, he was so balanced. It was like the first time I was like, oh, there's like normal in this religion that I'm in. And it balanced me. It really balanced me. And dating was really smooth. And it was after a month, he told me he wanted to get married. And I was so confused, actually. I was like, we didn't really even tell each other we liked each other. He just kind of like knew it. And, it was really interesting. He was a very confident guy. He knew what he wanted. And that also was I was drawn to that. I was really drawn to that. There were a few instances when we were dating that I feel like it's worth mentioning. Um, there was one time we actually went for pre-marriage counseling before we got married. And I remember him telling me afterwards, I really could hurt people and I don't want to hurt you. And I was really taken aback. I was like, what does that even mean? And I think I also was in this place where like we were so in our engagement phase that I was like, no, you're not going to hurt me. And no, it's going to be fine. And he was like, yeah, I really like he did have this like genuine sincerity to him. But I did feel even while we were dating and engaged, there was a bit of a distance. I mean, also we are from like a religious background, so we don't we don't live together beforehand. We don't sleep together beforehand. So there was also, I guess, that distance. But he took crazy good care of me. He was like the biggest gentleman, always opening doors for me. Um, Also, just another story that comes to mind when we were engaged, getting married, and I really wanted my dress from a specific designer, and he was like, and my family didn't have the means to buy it, and my now husband, he said, I want you to have it. I want you to have the best dress, whatever you're going to feel most beautiful in. And I was like, no, no, no. I declined. Until this day, I have a very hard time looking at my my wedding pictures because of my dress. But there was a lot of like back and forth, meaning there was always this big gentleman coming to me, and there was also this bit of a space between us. There was a bit of a space that I felt even while we were dating. I couldn't really put a finger on it. But I was really taken by him. I was taken by him. I was obsessed with him. If he didn't answer me for a few days, I was like, "Oh my gosh, he's gonna break up with me." So I was head over heels. I really was. So yeah, that's how we met.
I love
Uh,
it. Sounds so tender that he would even say, like, I don't want to hurt you, like in premarital counseling, right? Like, you're,
yeah, he was so, so genuine. Always
yeah,
so
yeah,
genuine.
yeah.
And raw. Like there was like a rawness to him that I felt I didn't see in other guys, like almost like an emotional. And he would tell me a lot of times, I was like, no, I'm a what do you call it? I'm a logical robot. And I was like, that's so weird. Like, you don't seem like one, but I guess like you're telling me you're one, like, but
Yes.
he had this big, deep heart that like, you see, there was like this like toss up. I couldn't really
Yeah.
figure out what it was. And he also, even while we were dating, he was very careful about how much like love he was pouring on me, which at the time I figured, maybe it's just because of the religion. He doesn't want to, mess with it and, make a mistake and make us too mushy gushy and cross the line. I wasn't really sure, but there was always this
Okay.
bit of a distance that I felt kind of like throughout the whole thing.
Okay.
Um, yeah. So that was the beginning.
Yeah, and it even had you feeling a little bit like, "Ooh, why hasn't he been in touch with me for a few days?" or whatever, like,
Yeah.
a little bit on the, like, yeah, feeling nervous about it, it sounds like, so.
Yeah.
So and so you got how you
So we
probably
got
didn't date
married.
very long? You got married,
No,
okay,
we
you got
didn't.
married.
No, we
Ok
dated for about like 3 months. We're engaged for another 3 months. It was pretty fast. Um, and okay, so the first couple months seemed pretty normal actually. Like everyone said there was going to be these like wild fireworks, and we were actually like it kind of just felt like I married my best friend. It felt really
Oh,
comfortable, and
great.
yet there did seem to be this like I couldn't get to him. That's how it felt. Like I couldn't have the full him. That's always how it kind of felt,
Huh,
but I didn't it was new. So, new territory. I was careful about how much I pushed. But then there was a big incident.
uh-oh.
We were married about 8 months. I was 2 months pregnant, and I actually don't remember a lot of it. My mind really blocked a lot of it out. But the I remember it was like a few days. It was around his birthday, and this massive fight exploded, and I do remember I was like there was at one point his eyes were just totally glossed over, like totally dead. He was like cursing at me, and he was just really going at me that I come from a family where I mean we celebrate birthdays, but we're not like big birthday people, and his family's like a big birthday family. And I just remember him like really hurt that either I didn't do something for his birthday, I didn't make a cake for I didn't remember exactly what it was, but it was something like it was so intense. I remember being on the floor like begging him to like let me eat the cake with him. And he was like cursing at me. It was such an intense, uh, bizarre situation. And in the end, he let me eat the cake with him. And we lived in this really weird apartment where it was like an apartment, and then you can go down another like 3 levels of stairs, and there's another bedroom. And I just remember like at one point I was just like, "Are you on something?" And he absolutely lost it. I think he threw something. He was like cursing like crazy. I like went downstairs to the second bedroom. I remember him coming really close to me and being like, "Don't you dare start this game with me." And I was like terrified. I mean, I'm 2 months pregnant. We're just married. I'm like, "Oh my God, I'm in an abusive marriage."
Terrifying,
Um,
terrifying, yeah.
absolutely terrifying. And I had no clue like what I had no I had nothing to even like it was sudden. It was so sudden
Out of nowhere.
and out of absolutely nowhere. So
Wow.
obviously, what does any normal wife do? They go on the WhatsApp. Let's go find out what's happening. So I
Yeah.
went on his WhatsApp, and I saw that he texted his therapist, like, "Sorry I came in high," and like the word Xanax. Now, I'm saying I come from a regular background. You know, I I drank, I partied, I hung out with boys. Like I did everything pretty normal. The one thing I didn't do was I never tried drugs. I had no idea what Xanax was. I had no clue. So I kind of, I'm sure that there was a part of me that wanted to probably be in denial because I was like, this is terrifying. And I kind of just stuck it in the back of my head. I did end up asking like a mentor and my mother, like, is it normal if men yell? My parents really never yelled. So I asked them, and they both kind of asked me, like, did he hurt you? And I was like, no, he didn't touch me. It just, he yelled. And so, the answers were kind of like, okay, men lose, like, have tempers sometimes. So I said, I knew in my gut something was wrong. I was too ashamed to really ask anyone for real help. I was really young. I was like kind of the first ones of my friends to get married. I just the whole thing, I couldn't, I didn't know how to ask for help.
Ah,
Um, and um, and so after that, so I had this information now. I actually called his therapist who told me, I'm sorry, but I can't speak to you because you're not my client. So I just continued on my merry life and I was always waiting for the next big thing. I didn't know what I thought I married a monster. And it never came. It never came. Meaning we would get into arguments, but nothing crazy, but that distance was always there. I always felt it. I definitely would make comments about it. I would ask more like leading questions like, why aren't you coming to bed with me? It's really weird, you know? Um, and he'd always get defensive and okay. So then about 6 months later, I asked him again. I had the guts. I don't know how I got the guts, but I asked him again, what was that fight? That fight we never spoke about. Anytime I ever said anything about it, it was kind of just pushed under the rug. He did apologize 2 days later, but even the apology didn't make any sense. The apology was like, I'm sorry for I think he decided for his birthday to instead go to like a museum by himself and not bring me. And because he was so, I don't know, disgusted by me, hurt by me. And he in the apology, he said something like, I'm more sorry that I missed out on time together for my birthday. There was such a lack of like real understanding of what happened. Like I was so confused, but I took the apology because I was desperate to just be like,
of
okay.
course. Of course.
So then I asked him 6 months later, what was that? And he actually sat down and he told me he abuses drugs. That's what he told me. Now, in that moment, a lot of things happened because there was a big softness to him. He's like, I have to tell you something and I want to be honest. And there was a closeness that came all of a sudden. There
Sure.
was like vulnerability from him. And he was holding me. And all of a sudden I got a lot of close attention that I was missing. And I do think that interesting dynamic started a new chaotic adventure for us because I do think subconsciously I was like, "Oh, I get something out of this." The
Yeah.
more chaotic he becomes,
Yes.
the more he owes me and the more I get. So, and I'm not denying. I mean, he full out he was hiding it from before we got married. This was something going on far before we got married. Which I'll get to, but at least in that moment, I do think there was a part of me that was like, I kind of latched onto that. Like, okay, so after that, okay, so that was like the dynamic that started to unfold, and it it started like a new journey for us. Okay, so I now had a baby, um, and now that I also knew this information, I would keep checking the WhatsApps, and I would keep questioning, and I would check it. There was a lot of checking, and so he had to be more on guard. And so it was like toppling on each other. It was like I'm checking more and more. He's more and more on guard. And we're not being fully honest and vulnerable with each other because I think we both have a fear. I have a fear that there's more you're hiding, and he has a fear that I'm gonna make him stop. So there's a lot of things at play here. So after that, I had my daughter, and then I convinced him that we need to move to a different neighborhood. We were both getting our masters, and I was pregnant with my son at the time. My daughter was only 4 months when I got pregnant, so it was very intense. Yeah, we moved to a new neighborhood. It was Corona. The neighborhood was under a ton of construction. It was being built. We were both in our masters. I was so like on top of like scheduling. I mean, we would miss family events because we had to put her to sleep early. And I was like on a buzz. Like there was just this constant buzz. But because I wasn't stuck in bed, I guess everyone was kind of like, okay, well, she's not depressed. So she's
She's
she's just
fine.
tired. I don't know. She's just
Yeah.
functioning overtime. So then I had my son. They're 15 months apart. It was basically a recipe for disaster. I'm with two kids in one room. They're screaming. The fights between me and my husband were exploding. I mean, I remember him. He's punching walls. I remember I was wearing a necklace. He took the necklace off of me. I remember just like falling on the floor. I once, like, I think I threw like a whole thing of plastic cups at him. They weren't necessarily about the drugs. It was mostly about him being so disconnected and so avoidant of me. And meanwhile, I'm with these kids all day and like I need help. And I also remember him at one point. I remember him like falling on the bed, just crying. I never saw him cry. He was crying, telling me, you need to start taking care of yourself. And I had no idea what that meant. Like, what does that even mean? Where and how and to do what? Like, he was like, go take a walk. And in my head, I'm like, go take a walk? Like, that's not going to help me. I need like full time care and help, and I need you to hold me all day, every day. It was like, there was no. Oh, and also during this time, I found out that he was hiding Xanax. So there was a constant mistrust also, like, happening. Like, there were too many times of him. Like, I also remember this one time, I remember he left to go pray in the morning, and I was with my kids at home, and I don't know, 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, I'm like, "Where is he?" I was really getting nervous, and I take my kids into the stroller, and I start, like, walking around town. Where is he? My in-laws actually also live near us, and I ended up going to their house, and he was passed out on their couch. And but then once he woke up and he realized it, he felt terrible. He was apologizing. And once again, I got this like dopamine hit of like, oh, this like closeness and care and concern and the sensitivity. So this dynamic was like playing over and over and over, but I was definitely getting way more controlling, like, and manipulative. Okay. So then my fourth child, so that's 2 years later. So I would say those 2 years were like, it's the cycle over and over. So it's really, really, really bad, which means then there's a really, really, really good. And then we hit like where he needs to take and he's being more distant because he needs to take. I don't really know what's happening. There's distance. And eventually I find out. So there's this constant roller coaster of distance and closeness. Really, really, really big lows, really, really, really amazing highs. And I am kind of getting fed up about it. And also part of this is that he's taking them at night. So, because he really, it's crazy. He really is so committed. He doesn't want to mess with like my kids or me during the day. He takes it at night so he can like get his high, not have to think about all the things that he's been through in life and all these dark thoughts that he has. And then he can go to sleep. Now, the problem is that also, I mean, it's a muscle relaxant, so he could not get up in the morning. So I would say majority of my children's childhood, he was not getting up, and they would hear me yelling at him to get up. He's yelling at me. I mean, that cycle of me yelling at him to get up in the morning and him yelling at me to get off his back, that was always terrible. Like, that was terrible, terrible. My kids would just hear the worst things. It would explode. My resentment of him sleeping was it was the highest part of my resentment. It was I
Yeah.
couldn't, because not only are you not
Yeah.
coming to sleep at the same time as me, you're sleeping till 12, like, and I have to get up whether I'm nursing, pregnant, not pregnant, just tired, just a person. I want a teammate. There was no
Yeah.
teammate. There was no
Yeah.
teammate. In the
This
morning.
is not
In
what
the
you
morning.
signed up for. Right.
Yeah.
Ugh,
So
eh,
so
who
fast
wouldn't
forward
be
to my
resentful?
yeah, so resentful. Um And I'm saying he's not present, like he's not fully there. You don't have his full emotional self. So fast forward to my fourth child's birth. So um, at this point, I know that he's taking painkillers. Okay, he's opened up to me that he's taking painkillers. I'm on the same page as him, and I've let go. And like I'm saying, like I know that he's using our money for it. And at this point, like I know his body is addicted to it. Like he needs those painkillers. Like I'm not willing to go. We've been through a few withdrawals together and they're very ugly and I'm not willing to do it anymore. So I'm in my ninth month and I'm like, you better make sure you have your painkillers. Like I'm not going into labor and you not have your painkillers. He's like, what are you talking about? Of course. I always have my painkillers. Obviously the night I go into labor, he can't get his painkillers or he didn't have enough. He ran out the night before and the guy couldn't come and he basically goes into withdrawal while I'm in labor. I don't he can manage, meaning his body is not in full withdrawal yet because it's waiting for its hit, but he doesn't have his painkillers. So, um, thank God I was in the hospital for 3 days and he managed somehow with my kids. I don't know how he did it. I honestly have no clue how he did it, but he managed with my three other kids. And I mean, you have to hear what I did in the hospital. Like, this is how low of a self I had. He had walked because it was the Sabbath. So he walked from our home to the hospital in withdrawal, which means like everything that you see in movies, like the throw up, the shaking, the chills, the nausea, the headaches, everything. Um, he walked to see me, and I'm a day after birth, and I get up from my bed, and I'm like, "You should take my bed. You need to rest." And I'm sitting on a chair. When I think about it now, I'm like, what? Like, like, I don't know, go find a pillow. Like, you'll be okay. I like, there was just no, there was just no self. I did not know how to take care of myself. I really didn't. So, I mean, it was so nice that he came and I cared about his well being. But I think that story stands out to me that, like, I got up from my bed. I had given birth not even 24 hours before. And I'm like, come take my bed. You lie down. I'm going to sit and like hurt my back and whatever. Okay. Um, so he went into withdrawal. Okay. So I told him, you better get painkillers by Monday. That's when I'm going to be home. You better get them. And he got them and he's good. And then 2 weeks later, the same thing happens. He can't get it. And you need it basically. Withdrawal is like in full effect for 3 days. I'm only 2.5 weeks postpartum. And he's like,
Oh,
listen, I can't do this. I'm leaving to a hotel for the week. His
oh,
parents don't know what's happening. I'm left alone a week, 2.5 weeks postpartum
with three
with my
littles too.
three
Ah,
other, yeah, I have three tiny kids and a newborn baby, and nobody knows. Nobody knows. Nobody, and no one knows. And, and I didn't know what to do. I was so angry. I remember him packing and me being like, are you actually going to do this? Like, I need you to just hold the baby or rock the stroller or like give the kids, like, he's like, I can't even, like, his brain was exploding. He couldn't, he couldn't.
oh,
So I didn't have a
Rachel.
choice. It wasn't like I said,
Oh,
okay. It was just, he left and
no,
I was home.
it just was what he was
Yeah.
doing.
Just what he was
Oof.
doing. Yeah. And originally he told me he's just going to go for a night. Then he told me he needs 2 nights. It was a lot of not also being honest. And I told him, I think by the third day, I think I met with my therapist. I was seeing a therapist and I met with her and she said, you better tell his parents or you're gonna crash and your kids are not safe. So I ended up telling his parents, who got me a night nurse, which was really helpful.
It's very
Um, but that was, that was the breaking point, where I said, I'm never doing this again. Like, if you ever go on painkillers, I'm out because I can't do the withdrawal part. It wasn't even the painkillers. It was like, I can't do the withdrawal. So after a week, he came home. But I mean, I don't know if you can imagine, I'm livid. The
yes.
resentment
Oh, yes. Through
is
the roof.
exploding. My
Yeah.
resentment is exploding. There's basically nothing he could do at this point to make me happy, feel better, feel loved, feel cared for. I mean, you just walked into like he walked into hell. Like, you're gonna
Yeah.
die here
Yeah.
because I just
You're
died. So get ready,
depleted. Your stress has been maximum. Yeah. You're not a happy camper at all. So you have resentment
Yeah,
shooting out of your eyes at him. And
shooting out of everywhere. And meanwhile, he's like doing all this work to be better. So you can imagine that. And there's also that dynamic where he feels really bad. He feels really bad and I'm getting, it was such an intense time. And but the resentment really took over and he basically couldn't do anything right. I mean, there was absolutely nothing he could do right.
yeah.
And we're seeing a marriage counselor. I would say throughout I think once we started the rehab, we were seeing marriage counselors. I would say they did nothing. He would say, no, they did something because he's so committed. He showed up to marriage counseling every day, even though he wasn't even being honest because he couldn't tell me the full truth at the time. The resentment is like huge. So he needs to avoid me at all costs, basically. And the avoiding gets even louder. Like it's avoiding the room like that I'm in.
Yeah.
He's avoiding like anything that has to do with me. I mean, literally, like the same room. He's not coming into the room that I'm in. And we went to a family event. I remember there was like music. So I was just feeling a lot more freer. And he started dancing with me and it felt so nice. And then we get home and he goes back to ignoring me. And
Ouch.
I told him to get out. I said, get out of this house. I had nothing left in me. I said, I can't do this anymore. I just cannot do this anymore. So he left for 2 weeks. And when he came back, he had lost all sight of life. He was done. I had kicked the last bit of life out of him.
Whoa.
So he stopped painkillers completely, but he was taking whatever else he could find. So, and he stopped painkillers because that's how much he cared. He's like, I'm not willing to lose her, but I can't survive on nothing. So he would take whatever else he could, or he would just watch movies all day just to numb out, his brain.
Whew.
And he came back and he was just like, I'm done. I'm not seeing therapists anymore. I'm not talking to rabbis anymore. I'm not talking to parents anymore. I'm not talking about anything anymore. I'm done. So, and that was a huge part of our story because I was forced to rely on God. I was forced to say, I have no direction anymore. I thought the rehab, I thought Al Anon, I thought a lot of things, and there's no clear direction. He's smoking every single night. Um, I mean, he really was like dead. It was like I was living with like a zombie. I mean, he was so not present, not emotionally, not physically. He was waking up every day at like 11 or 12. I'm making excuses to people where he is. We were going to people's houses, and it was like he got to a point where he didn't even care if people judged him for being high. Like it was just, there was no one home anymore. I was living alone with a person in my home, but there was no connection. And I would beg and I would cry and I would scream, and there was just no one home. He didn't care. He just didn't care.
Hmm.
Or at least that's how I felt. So, so then my friend invited me to a class that this woman was giving on the surrendered wife. And I actually don't even know why I went. It's not in my neighborhood. It's not with people that I know. And and I remember going, and it's interesting. My background, um, I don't know if it's because of my religion or just my home in general. Materialistic, pleasurable stuff was not really like the most great thing. Like it was, I wouldn't say it was like straight out shameful, but like if I got a manicure, it was kind of more like I had a lot of guilt that I got a manicure type of thing. Like I'm a very girly person, and I had a lot of confusion. Like, am I allowed to be so girly and care about lipstick and heels and all these things? So, and the first thing she's talking about is how like all these big desires that you have, like go and like get pleasure from them. Like go put on lipstick and go put on heels and go do 3 things a day that just give you pleasure. And I was like so confused. I was so like, that's self-care. Like I don't need to get a iced coffee. I could just like go put on lipstick. Like that will make me happy. Like, and also the big thing of like your husband's not going to make you happy. That was also a big one that I heard in the class. I actually never went back to the class. I only went to that one class. And then I started listening to the podcast, and I couldn't stop listening. I could not stop listening. I also kept looking for ones where like there was someone with addiction. And then people said the second book. So then I got that book, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna try this. Now the thing in my head is I'm obviously a very extreme person. So you hear these podcasts and you're like, oh, it works like magic, which it does work like magic, but it takes a lot of time. So I'm expecting things to like, he's gonna be like Prince Charming tomorrow. Like, so there was a lot of like starting and going backwards and starting and going backwards. So the first thing, I actually wrote it down. The first thing that I started with, oh, was listening. Because that was, for me, for some reason, in my head at least, I thought that would be the easiest to duct tape and listen. Because I did think that he had a lot in his heart that he did want to share. If I would just be quiet for 1 second, maybe I could have his heart. And also, I had to change my view on what intimacy meant, meaning I learned intimacy just meant physical intimacy. And there's this whole world of such deep emotional intimacy that's like, it's just as rich, but it's so rich. It's like I missed that piece somewhere in the beginning of learning about marriage. So all of a sudden I'm hearing his heart and there's this like huge, I'm like, wow, I don't even think I knew all these parts of his heart before. Like I missed out on all these like deep thoughts. I mean, they were dark thoughts, what I was hearing. They were these dark thoughts of his, but at least he was sharing them with me. Like I got to hear them. So that started just listening. Then I started I'm sorry for being disrespectful. Now, like, I don't know if you could tell by my story, but I'm very easy to be like, no, it's my fault. You know, like I gave him my bed and no, it's my fault. So the saying sorry was like in my head, I'm like, oh, it'll be easy. I'll just say sorry for being disrespectful. Now, when I started saying sorry for being disrespectful, he caught on. He's like, why do you keep saying that word? And I'm like, no, I feel bad. Like it was disrespectful. And he's like, what's this book you're reading? You're not allowed to read it anymore. It's making you into a feminist. It's making you into feminist. No, he said, not you're a feminist. He said, it's making you, you're going to lose yourself. That's what he said. You're going to lose yourself and you're going to lose your respect. He cared so deeply that I would stand up for myself. It
Wow.
was so enlightening. So I realized that and I'm like, and then I said, no, no, this book is all about me. It has nothing to do with you. This is about me. Whatever. So that was also interesting. Like he questioned my motives a lot because he knew I got this new book and he didn't know what it was and why I was reading it. Um, and so I had to also be careful about my apologies because I also had to learn to be sincere, not
Mhm.
just to do the skill. I had to think which part in this argument actually belongs to me, that I actually want to apologize for,
Ooh, that
not
is
just do the
amazing. This
skill.
is okay. I want to just linger here for a
Yeah.
second. That is a big wisdom bomb right there. Because you're saying, I was quick to say sorry before. Sorry, sorry, sorry. And maybe just try to make nice to get back to the peace, to have forgiveness, to have closeness
Right.
again. And this is different. And then he is noticing you're saying it and kind of calling you out. And then you have this insight like, oh, I have to figure out what is actually mine and leave
Yeah.
what's not mine behind. Like, leave that in the space. Only take what's mine. I
Yeah.
think this is tremendous. So
Which
wise.
means I had to be okay with conflict. I was never
Oh,
okay if we were not okay. I was like, I would
wow.
freak out if we weren't okay because he was
Wow.
my filler, meaning he had pills that filled him and his stuff and him filled me. So if you're not going to fill me, if we're not good, I didn't know where to go. So I needed everything to be fine. And I needed to learn to be okay that he has his opinion and he messed up over there, but I messed up over here. So I'm not going to take your mess up. And I'm still allowed to say that hurt, which meant now I can actually show up as a human, as myself. I can be me in the relationship. I don't have to coward because I need us to have this perfectly peaceful marriage. I want a real marriage. I want a vulnerable marriage. I want the real him. But if I'm not showing up as the real me, then I'm not going to get the real him. If
This
we're
is
both going to play a game, then we're both at fault, you know? So
yeah.
so the apology was a big one because I had to go inward.
Yeah.
Um and then um but there was a lot of like things weren't like magical. Like also this was another thing I would say I would love something and he'd be like, you have I think I once said like I would love a bag or something. And he's like, you have plenty of bags. And I also realized, and I'm actually still working on this one, that I when I say I would love something, I really was asking for a new bag. I had plenty of expectations. Like
Oh,
I still have plenty expectations when I say I would love something. Like
sure.
there are times when I can tell like I have zero expectations and like I really just want to like share this with the world or with him. And usually those are the times that he'll respond and it will it's like a magnet. Like I
Yeah,
say it and he's like
magnetized.
drawn to give it to me. Um and then there are times where I say something that I would love and the response is not as open or not as fulfilling. And it's usually because I have plenty attached to it. Like I'm really like, wait, I really, really would love. It's not like a, you know what I'm saying?
I do. I do. Okay, so I mean, I kind of one of the things I'm picking up on this about you is that the skills didn't actually work very well at first. Like you're saying, I'm
No.
sorry for being disrespectful. And he's like, stop it. Stop reading that book. You're saying, I would
Yeah.
love a bag. And he's like, you have plenty of bags. Right. So there's like
Yeah.
a misfire there because he's like, wait, like, what do you mean you need a bag? Like you already have bags.
Yeah.
And you're saying, and you're so accountable saying like, I had expectations I would really, really love is a little different, right? That just I
Yeah.
would love. So I feel
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
difference.
It's very different.
Yeah. So how would you keep yourself going with saying these phrases, using these skills when it's like not working?
Yeah. It's a really good question. There's two things that I would say. One is it was the podcast and the book together, meaning the podcast gave me this wildly like totally in like unlogical hope in like anything could happen. And the book like kind of it made things more like accurate. Like when I got to the part of the book where it's like if your tears are manipulative, he's gonna know. And then he's not gonna like respond so nicely because nobody wants to be manipulated with tears. So it was like the details of the book along with the podcast. And then eventually, um, things were not, it wasn't that things were getting worse. It's just that things were not getting better. And I was so taken by the podcast that I'm like, I'm going to join the community. That I think was like the top of the help. And I got 2 sessions of coaching. And I had Tammy as my coach. And I remember
Wow.
telling her like a specific situation. And she was like, what if this is just a phase? And I was like, what if it's just a phase? Like, that gave me a lot of hope. And it also gave me this new direction of like, wait, like, I could rewrite this narrative. Like, why does it have to be set in stone just because, meaning she had her own story that resembled whatever the specific situation that I was speaking to her about. And she was like, yeah, and it was a phase. And I'm like, wow, you're right. There's plenty and plenty of stories that are just, it was a really bad phase. And it was like, I mean, it's such a simple sentence, like, what if it's just a phase? But it gave me such a new perspective. Our perspectives, that is such a new perspective. So
Love that.
so that was really also what gave me this ability to continue. So I would say I started the skills maybe like I would say almost a year ago about. I worked them really, really hard. Oh, and so then I stuck to gratitude, a lot of gratitude and receiving because I realized he does offer a lot of help. He offers a lot of different things to me. And because they're not exactly what I want, I end up kind of like turning them down. Like he's a chef and he always wants to make me really good food, but like I'm more of like a I'd rather pizza type of girl. But then he started like then I'd be like, "Yeah, you can make that for me." And it wasn't about the food, meaning I don't know how many bites I took even, but I was learning to see the things that he can and wants to give me. So the story of me telling myself, he doesn't care, he's so selfish, I started my mind all of a sudden was able to see like, oh, he wants to give to me here, which means it took away the selfishness. It was like this seesaw. It was like I would tell him, like, see, he's so selfish. And then it was, he'd offer me like, do you want me to get the kids? And I'd be like, oh, like you really do care. Or like you really do want to show up. At the time, I would say like these gratitudes and I didn't get like these crazy responses, meaning I would say like, thanks. And he'd be like, yeah, like, no, like it wasn't some big monumental thing. But I did realize that the more I noticed things, the more he was like willing to show up for more. So if he was washing the dishes or he was changing my baby's diaper or making our bed or going to the grocery store, like just small, or he'd make me a coffee. And, um, so that was like really, it was a lot of gratitude. It was a lot of receiving. And,
Yeah.
and then, and then I did the SFPs, which I think are just magic. I think they're magic. I would say things like, I never thought he was such a committed person because I'm like, you betrayed my trust like 100 times. How could you be a committed, loyal husband? So I started telling myself. And then one time I said to him, like, you're so committed. He's like, finally, you realize. That's what he said to me. Finally, you realize.
Oh.
Yeah. I was like, oh,
Oh, he was like, "Oh, finally you see me."
yeah,
Wow. That
yeah,
was your
yeah,
self-fulfilling prophecy. It didn't seem true to you, but when you said it, he
mm,
he felt like that's how he was
yeah,
showing up.
yeah, yeah. Or I would say that was like a big one. You're so committed. I would say like, you're really calm because he would lose it at times. Like I'm saying, he was on weed. Oh, yeah, okay. All this time while I'm using the skills, he's on constant weed. He's like a pothead. Okay. He's like 24/7 weed. So, which I also want to add, like, it's pretty hard to use these skills and see it working with someone who's not totally at their full functioning capacity, which is why
Right,
also there was
sure.
a lot of like, there was a movement. Like, I would be working these skills. It would seem like something's happening. And then, um, and then he'd be high again. And it was very confusing. But I have to say, I was listening to a podcast and it's so true. These skills, it had to change that I was doing these skills for myself. I had to show up differently. I
Mm,
couldn't be screaming anymore that you're not coming to bed with me. I couldn't be begging him to hang out with me. It was just so undignified. It was so gross. It was like, I do not want to do this anymore. I want to be different. So at a certain point also the skills changed. It was not about him anymore. It was like, yes, you are the beneficiary. Is that the word? Like you get to enjoy these skills, but these skills are for me. Like this is what I get to keep for life. Um, so I was working them and working them and working them and working them. And um, he came up with this idea that I mean, this man is so incredible. He didn't want to do any of these crazy therapy approaches anymore. He wanted to get to the bottom of his own mental health. And he basically like biohacked himself. He found out all these deficiencies, chemical deficiencies he had in himself, and he started taking supplements. And he was doing that for about 2 months, I want to say, 2 months, 3 months. And he then, after 2 months of that or so, he got to like, he was really a pothead. Like he was 24/7 smoking. This guy was I mean, he was not functioning. He was getting up at 12 p.m. every day. I mean, it wasn't like, whoa, my life was so much different. Okay. Like things were different. I was different. I was so different. I was so different. But it wasn't like, oh my gosh, and my whole life is different. And then one day he said, I hit the point I needed to reach and I'm not going to smoke anymore. I want to stop. And he went off of everything. And that week, the first 3 days were literally he was Mr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. It was like kind of a little bit terrifying, but also funny. Like it's a better withdrawal than painkillers. And then he spent the week at the beach. He left for a week. I said, like, go do whatever you need to do to heal. Like, I trust you. Oh, that was also a big SFP. I trust you. That was a huge one. And
Huge.
huge because I really didn't trust him. But I was like, I really
No.
want to trust you. Like I would tell myself, like, I want to trust him. And I do think he's trustworthy. Like there is a part of him that I really do trust. So I'm going to sit on that piece. And he spent the week at the beach. Um, he's like obsessed with water and the beach. So he spent the week at the beach. And he has been he wakes up every morning at like 6:45. He does like these mindfulness exercises. He's totally
No
off of
way.
everything.
The
Yeah.
same
He's
guy?
like
This is the same
the
guy? This is a
same.
different
It
birthday?
is insane. No, it's insane. He like asks like every night he's like, "Are we going to bed now? Should we have like a tea time at night? Like
No
should we read
way.
our books and have tea
No
together?"
way.
No, no,
Rachel,
it's
unbelievable.
yeah. It's not normal. And so that's the part where it's like so the way that me and him discuss it, because I did ask him, like, do you think that, me doing the Laura Doyle skills are what helped us? And our way of thinking about it is obviously he had to do insane work and he had to hit whatever place he hit within himself. But I made a place of safety and I made a place of closeness and I made a place for myself to be
Nice.
a real human in our marriage. And that allowed him to kind of follow his own gut, which until now, me, his parents, his therapist, the rehab, everybody was telling him what he needed to do to fix himself.
Wow, I just
Yeah.
wanna cheer like you made a touchdown. Like, oh my gosh,
Yeah. Yeah.
you were the one that created the space that he needed, the emotional safety that he needed to have this
Yeah.
breakthrough. It's
Yeah.
incredible, and I love how clearly you describe it, right? You paint the picture for us exactly of what was going on before and then how you showed up afterwards that created this transformation, and then look what happened as a result of that.
Yeah.
And this is
Yeah.
something you guys discussed.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
were both stuck in hell, and now you found a way out, and then you both got out.
Yeah. Yeah. He actually just said we got into like a little argument 2 weeks ago. And he said to me afterwards, like, we don't argue the same because we know that the other person actually cares about each other. That's what he said to me because we're
Wow.
not fighting to have each other notice the other. We are so aligned that I know he will go to the moon and back for me. And I know he wants to make me happy. And he knows that I care deeply
Wow.
for him and that I want him to do what's best for himself. So the 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 understanding also allows these like of course life is life and we're gonna hit bumps and it helps those bumps. It's like it paved the way for even the arguments now to be with love, to be with respect and compassion and like deep knowledge that we're there for each other, which we'd never had
Wow.
before. It was never like that ever. I mean, we were fighting nail and tooth just for the other person to hear the other person. I mean, it was hell. It was hell. Yeah.
What a transformation. That is amazing to create something in your marriage after 4 kids and however many years you've been married. Now you
8 years,
have
yeah.
this 8 years married. You have this emotional intimacy that you never had before. It's
Yeah.
incredible. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
so impressed. So, and I have some questions about this because so you mentioned like,
Yes.
saying come to bed and or like the resentment shooting out of your cells.
Everywhere. Yeah.
How did you how did you like what did you do with that? What did you or like how did you stop saying, come to bed? It's time for bed. Let's go to
Yeah.
bed.
It's a really, really good question. I would say the first thing I did was I let my feelings have a day in the sun, which means I would cry, but not in a victimized cry. Like sometimes I would cry and feel so bad for myself. I think the cry, I let myself feel sad. Like I was like, it's really, really hard. And it's really sad that he won't come to bed with me. It was really sad. And then the next day, I would go to town and I would buy myself some really nice piece of clothing and I would dress myself up and I would go out with my friends. And I mean, I don't even remember what I did, but I mean, I was going everywhere with everyone all the time. I was just like, I was getting, and I like to draw. Like I started like drawing again. Um, I if I needed, I would put the podcast on so that I would remember, like, why I'm not saying something. A lot of times I would have to, like, remind myself, like, "You're not gonna scream because that would lose your dignity." Meaning it became about me. I became very selfish in the best way, like, I
In the
don't want
best
to be
way.
ugly anymore. Like, I don't wanna be this gross, needy, ugly person for myself.
No. No. So, and that was enough for you to completely change how Rachel was showing up. Like there wasn't
I
you
mean,
were attached to
there were ups and downs.
being dignified. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, there were
Of
real
course,
ups and
right?
downs. I
No one's gonna be
remember.
perfect.
Right, no, and I think also that was a big part, which is, like, allowing myself the dignity to be a human. Like, I remember there was one night that I don't remember exactly why, but, like, the maybe we went on a date, so I expected him to come to bed. Like, we just went out, "Let's go to bed." And he needed to stay up, and he needed to eat everything and whatever, and I absolutely I lost it. I lost it, and I remember thinking afterwards, like, "Just stick to the skills because this feeling, I don't want again." It wasn't about it was like,
Yeah.
"Ugh, I can't stand this feeling." Like, that feeling was worse than the him not coming to bed feeling. I was like, "I can manage the
Wow.
anger. I can manage the sadness." It feels terrible. I'm not gonna pretend like I wasn't angry and I wasn't sad. I was. But I would do something with it, you know? I would go out on a really long walk or I would call a friend. I have really good friends. One specifically that was like my Laura Doyle person. I'm like, "This I got to tell you what just happened." And she would respond in a way that was like, "That's really hard and I'm sure he really does want to come to bed with you and I'm sure he's struggling with whatever, he's dealing with." She really stood for him, which I don't think is a given because I think it's very easy to complain and compare the same things that our husbands are, and the pain about it. And I think that was also part of it, me kind of leaving Al Anon. I don't want to run after chaos anymore. I don't want to be in chaos to have affection and love. I want to have love and affection without chaos. I actually wrote, I think it was like 2 years ago when I didn't even know about any of this. I wrote in my notes basically what my life would look like, as if, like, meaning in the present, like, oh, my life is beautiful. I don't have chaos around me, all these different things. And I am not, it is so insane when I read it. I'm like, oh my God, it is word for word. The only thing that hasn't happened is like we don't have like this massive mansion yet, but we will. It will happen.
You will. You will. Yeah, so you had a vision and you wrote it down and you
Yeah.
kept it. So And this is, I don't think that's a coincidence, right? That I think that's a big part,
No, no, I
that
think it's because
contributed to you creating.
right. I think a big part of my story is that my husband followed his gut and I followed mine, meaning there wasn't anyone telling us what to do or how to be, or meaning the skills were there, but I chose to follow them because I felt like they were right for me. No one was telling me that this is, if he's, no one was telling us the exact path that will, like, I guess it is the exact path that will heal him, but it was from my own decision. It wasn't based on a
Yes.
system. It wasn't based on a label. It wasn't based on a box. I had to let go of everything I thought I knew and follow my husband who said, I'm not doing anything anymore. And
Wow.
that is really what led us
Amazing.
to greatness. Yeah,
I mean, it sounds like it's such a miracle. It just really sounds like
it
a
is.
miracle what you're describing. It's very moving.
Yeah.
It's like exhilarating to hear what you've created. So, what is your marriage like today?
So it's really fun. I feel like I have this just insane best friend all the time. He's always around. He's always around. I feel like we're always next to each other. He wakes up at 6:45, between 5:45 and 6:45, like every morning, no matter what. He's with the kids in the morning. I wake up late. He does mindfulness exercises, he with the kids around, without the kids around, and then we do drop off together. My daughter's 7, so I spent the past 7 years of our marriage doing drop off by myself completely. Newborn, pregnancy, whatever it was, I now have we do drop off together every day. People are always like, "Why are you guys together doing this?" And I'm like, "I don't know, but I'm gonna take it." Um, because we don't really need both of us. It just happens, so I'm not gonna fight it. Um, and
You'd like
we
to be
go
together,
out.
it sounds like.
Yeah, yeah. We have these, like, nighttime book reading tea times, we call it. Um, he said to me, we just had our 8th year anniversary, and he said to me, "I feel like we were newly married." Because there's a vulnerability between us. I mean, this is also a great story. I wanted to go on a retreat and I was telling him about it. While I was telling him about it, he basically booked it for me. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I feel
Oh,
like I live in a hotel. Like, thank you." And he was like, "You should always feel like you live in a hotel." Like, there's just a
oh,
sense of companionship. I would say if I had to label it, it's like companionship. Like I have a teammate. I have someone who wants to hear everything I want to say. He wants to be there with me through every single emotion. He's like the best father. He's so present with my kids. I mean, before he was like, I mean, it was sad. He wasn't there. So I have a teammate now. Yeah.
amazing. Well, that marriage sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds dreamy. And, it's the same guy that when you said, "I want a new bag," or whatever, he was like, "We have bags," and this is the guy that books a
Yeah,
retreat
yeah,
for you
yeah.
right on the spot.
Yeah.
Something's different there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so how do you think it's impacted your children that you've
So
practiced
interesting.
these
I
skills
thought
and
about
become so
that.
dignified?
Yeah, so I thought about that a lot, because it's interesting actually. It's probably not what you expect, but I would say before the skills, my kids, everyone would always comment how my kids are so well behaved and so not wild. And since the changeover, I would say they've become much more wild, like chaotic. Okay, like it's like a party in here, but like a really chaotic party. And I was thinking about it, and I asked my husband what he thought about this. I said, I wonder if before they felt like they needed to be like kind of on guard, like they couldn't really allow themselves to fully show up because there was so much tension and yelling and just the fights and the hostility. I mean, they could feel it. And now, I mean, we're sitting together on the couch all the time, and my husband's always telling them like, like mommy and daddy need time now. Like come back in a few minutes. Like, so I wonder if it's allowed them to actually show up as themselves. Um, so it's actually gotten a lot more chaotic, but I think it's because of a good reason.
Yeah, it's a different kind of chaos. So, like, if you
Yeah,
practice the skills, your kids will get wild, right? Like,
a little bit.
they're just being kids, right? That's how kids are.
Exactly,
Kids are
exactly.
chaos in a way. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. So it's a different kind of chaos than you used to have. Totally different kind.
Right.
And
Totally.
what do you think? What would you say to somebody who is where you were, like her husband is an addict, he's a pothead, or he's using painkillers, or there's withdrawals, or he's sleeping every day till noon, and she's got, four littles by herself, and he won't come to bed, and she's so lonely. And she wants what you have now, where they do drop off together because they like to be together so much. And he it treats her like she lives in a hotel, and just is like there's this companionship, this warmth, beautiful companionship that you describe. It makes me cry. Th- She
Yeah.
wants that. What should she do? What's your best
Wow.
tip for her?
Well, first, I would probably just want to give her a hug because it's really hard. Um, but my tip would really be like, would you be willing to rewrite your narrative and let go of whatever pleasure you are getting from the insanity? Would you be willing to let go of it to have a better pleasure? Which my tip is really like to follow her gut in what she believes is possible, because I think and I'm not, obviously I'm talking for myself, but from my experiences I see a lot of the women that are in these addiction worlds, there's one path, and there's one way, and there's one type of therapy, not even one type of therapy, but there's one mindset a little bit. And my first tip would be like, could you break off of that and allow yourself to think beyond? Like, what could you dream could be possible? And if you allow yourself to believe in your own narrative and not the therapist's narrative and not the professional's narrative, maybe you and God could write this really cool new narrative. But the main character has to be you. That's the point. When people ask me today, how are you? I have to still remind myself, I want to be the main character in my story. So I'm not answering, or I try not to answer how he's doing, because that usually is my answer, because he was the main character, it was all about him. How am I doing? What is going on with me? So my first tip is like, can you make yourself your main character? Could you build your own narrative? Could you trust your own gut? Could you break free from whatever story has been told to you, is being told to you? You're telling yourself, could you break free from that for like a little bit and like experiment? You could put a deadline on it. You could decide. And then I would say,
Yeah.
grab the book, grab the podcast. If you can, grab the community. I mean, oh, that community is like it's like an ice cream. It's like I want it all the time. It's so no, it's such a warm hug. It's like you feel so understood and so free to believe in your own existence. Yeah, like you can decide how you want to show up, and you could decide what your life is going to look like. Um I think I answered your question, right?
Oh, yeah. Fantastic answer. And I think a
Okay.
big thing that really sticks with me about this is that when people you made yourself the lead character in your story. And then when people asked you how you are, you stopped saying, oh, my husband, this or that, and started checking in with yourself and answering how you were. And I just think that's another wisdom bomb. I just want to
Yeah.
make sure, I just think that's brilliant. And I just love the way you shared that. It's very inspiring.
Thank you.
Well, what about if you could yeah, you're welcome. What if you could go back in time and you could talk to Rachel and you could tell her what you know now? What do you think you would say?
Mm, oh, that's such an emotional question, but I would I would try to try to convince her to listen to her gut. She had a really she had a really hard time listening to her gut because I thought everyone else knew best, and I would love for her to just do all these amazing things that she wants to do. That would be my I would love to tell her, like, go and enjoy. Go and live this beautiful, girly, feminine, sparkly life and enjoy it. And I think also I would love to tell her that she can do without the chaos. Like, you will get more attention and more deep warmth, love, affection, all of it without the chaos. You don't need the chaos. Because I just think, just from my childhood and everything else combined, I didn't know any other way. So I kept it in my pocket for
Yeah.
quite a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. And there was the payoff, right? You would get the intimacy after there was chaos. Like there, so it's almost like Pavlov with his dogs, right? You would,
Yeah, yeah.
they'd salivate after they hear a bell, and you would experience the chaos and then have the intimacy and be like, ah, that's how I get what I need. So, but you totally changed that narrative. So I have another question for you, which is
Yeah.
because I love what you said so much about making yourself the main character. And a lot of this story, it seemed like it was going to be about your husband being addicted to painkillers and then to pot.
Mm,
But that is not really the story, is it? How would you describe
no.
your story? How would you summarize your story?
Um, my story is about trusting myself and believing in, like, a hope that I always was too scared to hope in. Like, I decided and I chose and I was willing and I gave my whole faith to hope and to God. And I also, that was a big piece. I decided to believe that God was conspiring for my good, which is a big change from how I saw him quite a while ago. So it was me deciding to let go of all this negative talk in my mind of how life needs to be, or it is, or it should be, or just the facts. Like, who says? Like, God is way
Yeah.
bigger than that. Or not God, life, nature, world, everything is way bigger. Like, I do not have to stay in this tiny little box of a label. I can be so much bigger and greater and enjoy my life. Who said we can't enjoy and be happy and live? I don't know, but I definitely was living to that. And I decided to finally let go of the story I was living. And now I live a totally different story.
You sure
Yeah.
do. It's quite a contrast. And Rachel,
Yeah.
I really want to congratulate you so big. Here's my Best Wife
Oh,
award, which
thank
you
you.
so deserve and have, yeah. No, I think, I mean, in some ways you make it sound easy, but you also really showed us the painful parts of what you
Yeah.
were experiencing and the painful parts of giving up that old story even, right? Like even, um, realizing you felt better when you felt dignified and not wanting to go back to that feeling. And you make it sound, I mean, not easy, but I mean, you did it so beautifully. And, so it's very impressive, but I know it took a lot of courage and a lot of commitment to get where you've gotten with your marriage. And then for you to come on and share about with all of us,
Yeah.
to pay forward what you've learned is just fantastic. And I just want to say congratulations. This is a huge
Thank you.
accomplishment.
Thank you. Really, it means so much to me because it was really hard and I did have to work hard and I did have to stay committed and there were so many bumps and fears and things that didn't look like anything was working and I'm just so grateful to you and to honestly to God for helping me find you. Like I don't know I really don't know what would have happened if I didn't. So thank you, Laura, really, with all my heart, thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. This has been so inspiring. You're such a beacon of hope for everything that's possible. And I just can't thank you enough for being so generous and telling us, yes, being so, yeah, you're so vulnerable. And it means so much to me. So thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Rachel.
Thank you so much.
You've been with me here every week learning the secrets that happy wives know. So I want to invite you to come practice them in person with me at the Adored Wife Weekend. It's 3 days in Anaheim, California with me, our coaches, and a whole room full of women just like you. We're going to laugh until it hurts. We're going to dance to the 80s and we're going to put these skills to work live. Your marriage is going to feel it. October 9th through the 11th, register right now at adoredwifeweekend.com and come practice with us. I'll save you a seat. Okay, so your try it tonight takeaway is staying on your paper. Staying on your paper. Rachel was incredibly accountable when she realized that whenever someone asked how she was doing, she answered by talking about her husband, his addiction, his recovery, his struggles. And one day she decided to be the main character in her own story, to stay on her paper and talk about how she was feeling, how she was doing. And did you hear what happened? When she stopped making her husband the center of every conversation, she had room to become herself again, her best self. So here's your experiment. The next time someone asks, how are you? What would your answer be if you were your own main character? How are you feeling? What are you excited about? What are you looking forward to? And notice what happens when your story becomes all about you. Are you going to try this? Are you in? Are you with me? All right, then go, go, go.